Hey there, Happy New Year to you all. It is 2020 and I'm really excited about that. So this video is part of my attempt to catch up with the video aspect of the project and bring it up to where I'm at with working in the studio. I started this project 2 years ago and I've been filming it most of the time. Not always with the intention of having this YouTube channel, but since I decided in about February last year that I wanted to have this channel, it's been trying to figure out a format and figure out how to make videos. I didn't always film with the intention of telling this kind of story, and so a lot of the work that I've done on the past videos has been piecing them together and trying to make a story that's cohesive and coherent and, is the direction that I want to take the project. So the project itself has really, I've made a lot of progress on it this year and I feel pretty good about it. Especially in the studio, I've made some big breakthroughs with the paintings and I filmed that and I will be showing that, so you'll get to see what's happening with that in this new year. Since I started this project 2 years ago, my ideas have evolved and changed a lot about it. The one idea that really hasn't changed since I started this project was that I wanted to bring the viewer along with me through the whole entire process of it. All the successes and failures and, breakthroughs and dead ends. And I really wanted to try to document and show everything that goes into the creative process for this project. I debated mashing up a bunch of the footage that I have because I have such a big backlog. I'm really about a year behind or so in footage. And I just decided that that probably wasn't the right idea. If I kind of mash it all together and skip out on some of the hardest part of the project and some of the real kind of dead ends that I've run into, I don't think it would show you the creative process in its entirety that might be interesting and useful to you in your own endeavors. So with that, I want to try to catch up this year. And I want to probably within the next couple months be up to date so that the content I'm releasing is current. I plan on releasing a video a week this year and really trying to build the channel. So if that's something you're into, stay tuned and consider subscribing because I've got a lot of big plans this year. All right, I hope you enjoy this and Happy New Year. Okay, so I'm laying out some of the paint that I want to use for this study. I typically like to lay out my palette with white and yellows, earth tones, reds, blues, and greens. For this study, I'm going to do a pretty full palette. A lot of the time I just work with a limited palette, but this time I'm going to put down a lot more color. Right now I'm going to mix up 3 values of gray, starting with my darkest. Then I'll have that for keeping all of my values with different colors similar. So this is a super slow process and it doesn't make for very compelling videos, but if I speed it up, then I think that's going to make it more interesting. It's finding a balance with the actual practice of painting, which is slow, and the immediacy and speed of a video. For the YouTube, I typically want it to be between like 8 and 15 minutes. But in reality, the painting may take me several days, 8-hour days sometimes. Trying to figure that out film-wise and make it interesting is tricky. And that's kind of one of the things I gotta work on and figure out. But in the meantime, I just keep recording, and then as I get better and better with the video, that will definitely help. I usually do a middle gray first, but I liked that as a light, so now I'm just gonna try to mix something that goes in between. God, this white has gotten really stiff. I need some more black. Not quite. That's almost right. I'm just looking for a value that's kind of in between these two. In my painting practice, I tend to not be very specific or overly fussy with getting things exactly right. I feel like if I hold to too rigid of an idea, even if it's just about mixing color, it doesn't leave room for error. And some of the best things I think that ever happen in the studio are those mistakes that you learn from. And so I'm constantly trying to let that stuff happen if it's going to, and not try to control it too much. But definitely control it enough to where, you know, I don't feel like I'm just lost in what I'm doing, like I don't have any direction, but at the same time not so rigid that I can't veer off the path when something presents itself. Alright, so I mixed 3 grays with black and white. Now I'm going to mix a black with burnt sienna, and this should be ultramarine blue to do this properly. This is phthalo blue that I put out here. So I want to see what that does. I think it's going to make it more green. So I'll get this kind of greenish black, I think. If I were to use ultramarine blue, I could get a really true black almost. So let's see. So that looks pretty dark, right? But I can tell that it's going to be kind of green. So if I take a little bit, and I put a little white with it, we'll see what kind of gray it makes. So that's this nice kind of greenish gray compared to that. I don't know if you can see that. So that mixed with like a little bit of red. Let's see what that does. So sometimes it's just fun to experiment with different mixtures and colors and seeing what happens. It might give you an idea that you want to try in your painting. So experimenting and not knowing exactly what you were trying to accomplish sometimes is a really good mindset to have. Okay, so this is the little sketch I did, and I'm going to lay this out on the canvas right now and just kind of get a feel for where I want to put everything compositionally. So I'm going to start with a pretty stiff bristle brush and just start to draw on the canvas directly with the paint. still want to keep this simplified, I do want it to be somewhat accurate to the location. So I don't want to just totally make up this stuff, but I also don't want to be so rigid that I'm trying to sit there and render it all out.